Los Angeles is the place the world comes to chase a dream. Movie lights, ocean sunsets, palm trees, famous streets where people say anything is possible. But there's another Los Angeles that most visitors never truly see. It's the Los Angeles where a person with a serious health condition sits on a sidewalk and whispers, "Nobody wants to live like this." It's the Los Angeles where cold nights make the body ache and fear makes sleep feel impossible. It's the Los Angeles where people who once had jobs, families, and routines are now counting hours until morning, hoping they can stay safe long enough to try again tomorrow. And here's the question that should stop all of us. How can a city rich enough to build million-dollar dreams leave tens of thousands without a safe place to rest? Another question, even harder. If you lost your home after one medical emergency, one layoff, or one missed paycheck, would you know what to do next? And one more. When people are struggling outdoors, surrounded by pressure and risk, what does real help actually look like? Stay with this story until the end, because what unfolds here is not just about Los Angeles. It is about the thin line between stability and crisis, and how quickly life can change when housing becomes unreachable. Welcome to Homeless US News. Today's episode takes us into Los Angeles in 2025, a city where more than 75,000 people are experiencing homelessness across the region, and where a large portion are living unsheltered in tents, vehicles, and makeshift shelters. This story is structured into 6 parts, and then a meaningful outro that asks what we can do next. If you believe these stories should be told with empathy, you are in the right place. This is Homeless US News. Part 1. The City After Dark, where fear replaces rest. Los Angeles changes when the sun goes down. During the day, the city can feel loud and fast. Cars move like rivers. People rush through errands. Music plays from open doors. The sidewalks fill with conversation. But at night, the city becomes something else. You can still see the glow of skyscrapers and bright storefronts. But under that glow, many people are trying to survive the hardest hours of the day. For someone living outside, night is not a time to relax. Night is a test. Where do you sleep so you are not told to move? Where do you sleep so you can keep your belongings close? Where do you sleep so you do not wake up shaking from cold air or stress? Some people choose spots near buildings because a wall blocks the wind. Some choose sidewalks near busy areas because being near people can feel safer than being alone. Some avoid crowds because crowds can also bring conflict. And many sleep lightly because deep sleep can feel dangerous. Imagine trying to rest while listening for footsteps. Imagine waking up every time a car slows down. Imagine the constant worry that you might lose the only things you have left: a jacket, a phone, a bag with documents, a small photo that reminds you of home. In Los Angeles, many people say the scariest part is not hunger. It is uncertainty, not knowing what will happen next, not knowing who might take advantage of your vulnerability, not knowing if you will be treated as human or treated like you do not matter. And the city itself can feel like it never stops moving. So the person on the sidewalk begins to feel invisible. That is how the crisis grows quietly, not only through loss of housing, but through loss of connection. Because when you are ignored long enough, hope can start to feel like a rumor, something meant for other people. Yet even here, there are moments that cut through the darkness. A volunteer offering a bottle of water without judgment. An outreach worker returning to the same block, remembering a name, proving that someone still sees you. A stranger asking, "Are you okay?" and meaning it. Those moments do not solve homelessness, but they can keep a person alive emotionally long enough to take the next step. So here is the question for you. If you walked through Los Angeles at night and saw someone trying to sleep on concrete, what would you want them to feel from the world around them? Fear or dignity? Because dignity is where recovery begins. Part 2. The numbers and the reality. When a city runs out of room for regular people. Los Angeles is often described as opportunity, but in 2025, the reality is shaped by scale and contradiction. Across the region, tens of thousands of people are experiencing homelessness, and in many areas, A large share are unsheltered, meaning they are not in shelters. They are on sidewalks, in tents, in vehicles, and in temporary structures that offer little protection from weather or risk. And here is what makes Los Angeles different from many other places. The cost of housing can be so high that normal life becomes fragile. You can be working and still be one step away from crisis. You can be doing everything right and still fall behind. You can be one medical bill away from losing your home. By 2025, rent for many apartments is far beyond what low-income workers can realistically manage, especially for anyone supporting children, dealing with debt, or recovering from health issues. And when rent rises faster than wages, the gap becomes a trap. People start making impossible choices. Pay rent or pay for medication. Pay rent or fix the car needed for work. Pay rent or buy enough groceries. Pay rent or cover childcare. And when someone falls behind, the path back is not easy. Because once you lose housing, you lose more than walls. You lose a place to sleep without fear. You lose a place to shower for job interviews. You lose a place to store documents. You lose an address that many systems require. Then small problems become bigger problems. A missed appointment becomes a closed case. A lost ID becomes a blocked application. A stolen phone becomes a lost connection to help. And this is why homelessness in Los Angeles often becomes long-term. Not because people want it, but because the road back is narrow and crowded. Now, it is important to say this clearly and respectfully. Los Angeles also has many people working to help. Outreach teams, nurses, volunteers, caseworkers, community kitchens, mobile clinics, local groups that show up again and again. In a city this large, help can feel like a drop in an ocean. But those drops matter, because when the system moves slowly, human consistency becomes the bridge. So here is another question. When a city counts tens of thousands without homes, how do we measure belonging? By the cost of real estate or by whether people have a place to recover? Part 3. Health on the Street. When cold nights and illness turn into a cycle. Homelessness is not only a housing crisis, it is a health crisis. When someone lives outdoors, small health issues can become serious quickly. A minor infection becomes harder to treat. A chronic condition becomes harder to manage. Stress becomes constant, and constant stress breaks the body over time. For many people outside, sleep is poor, food is inconsistent, hygiene is difficult, and basic care becomes hard to access without transportation or documents. Now, at the reality of cold nights, Los Angeles may be known for sunshine, but nights can still drop cold enough to be dangerous for someone who is already sick, already exhausted, already undernourished. Cold air can worsen breathing problems. It can increase pain. It can make the body tense all night, creating fatigue that spills into the next day. And if a person cannot rest, everything becomes harder. It becomes harder to keep appointments, harder to stay calm, harder to make long-term plans, harder to hold onto hope. This is how the cycle grows. A person becomes ill. Illness makes work harder. Less work means less money. Less money means more instability. More instability worsens illness. Then the person is trapped in survival mode. You can see it in their posture, the way they move carefully, the way they speak quietly, as if saving energy, the way they look at the ground more than they look at the sky. And yet, on these same streets, you will also see care. Street-based medical teams offering basic support, outreach workers helping someone get to an appointment, people handing out socks, blankets, hygiene supplies, and water. These actions do not fix the whole system, but they do something powerful. They tell a person, you are not disposable. Because when people feel disposable, they stop believing the future is for them. So here is a question for the viewer. If your health depended on street outreach instead of a clinic, what kind of care would you hope someone offered you? Speed or patience? Rules or understanding? Part 4. The pressure point, synthetic opioids, trauma, and why escape feels impossible. We need to talk about one of the most painful parts of this crisis, but we must do it carefully and respectfully. In many parts of Los Angeles, synthetic opioids have become a serious threat. They are powerful, risky, and often involved in emergency health incidents. And when people are living outside under extreme stress, the risk becomes even higher. But we must be honest about something. Many people do not start using substances because they want chaos. Many start because they are trying to numb pain. Pain from trauma, pain from loss, pain from untreated mental health struggles, pain from physical injury, pain from loneliness. Sometimes a person starts with a legal prescription after surgery or an accident. Sometimes they are coping with grief and depression. Sometimes they are trying to quiet panic and fear. And once dependency takes hold, it becomes a trap, because it is not only about choice, it becomes about withdrawal, survival, and the body demanding relief. Now at the limits of treatment access, even when someone wants help, the next steps can be difficult. Waitlists, paperwork, eligibility rules, transportation barriers, a lack of stable contact information, a lack of safe rest. So a person ends up in a tightening loop. They want out, but the exit is blocked. They try to change, but the environment is unstable. They relapse, and then shame grows. Then the world looks at them and turns away. And turning away is what keeps the loop alive. Because isolation feeds despair, and despair feeds risky decisions. Now, let's make something very clear. Homelessness is not solved by blame. It is solved by access. Access to housing, access to treatment, access to mental health care, access to consistent outreach, access to recovery spaces that do not feel like punishment. When the system offers only consequences, people learn that the system is not a place of safety. But when the system offers real pathways, people begin to believe again. So here is a question that matters. If someone you loved was trapped in a cycle of street survival and dependency, what would you want available for them first? A safe room, a treatment bed, a counselor, a job pathway, a long-term home? Because the truth is, most people need more than one thing. They need a foundation, and then they need support built on top of it. Part 5. The Forgotten Groups. Who gets missed even inside a crisis this big? When a crisis becomes massive, it can still hide people. Certain groups are often overlooked even when the numbers get attention. Older adults, for example, can struggle deeply on the street. Aging outdoors is harsh. Mobility declines. Health problems multiply. Recovery slows. A person who could survive outside at 35 may not survive outside at 55. Youth are another group often missed. Some are disconnected from family support. Some are aging out of systems without stability. Some are trying to stay invisible because visibility can bring danger. Families also face a unique form of homelessness that does not always look like tents. Some families move between motels, crowded rooms, and temporary arrangements, trying to keep children in school and protect them from fear. Veterans also appear in this crisis, even with programs designed to help. Their presence reminds us that assistance is only as strong as the housing options available at the end of the path. And then there is a truth Los Angeles cannot ignore. Disparities exist. Some communities are hit harder, and that is not random. It reflects decades of unequal access to stable housing, income, and opportunity. Now, within these groups, you will see resilience that most people never witness. A mother making a game out of a difficult night to keep her child calm. An older man carefully protecting his documents like they are gold. A young person sitting in a library trying to apply for work, hoping no one notices they have nowhere to go. These moments are quiet, but they carry enormous courage. And they also reveal something important. People do not need to be fixed before they deserve safety. Safety is what allows people to heal. So here's the question. When certain lives are counted again and again, but rarely listened to, what does it say about whose stories we value? If you believe every person deserves to be seen as human, then this is where the story begins to shift toward what help actually looks like on the ground. Part 6. Why so many programs still leave people outside. The gap between effort and outcome. Los Angeles has one of the largest homelessness response networks in the country. There are outreach teams. There are shelter sites. There are non-profit organizations providing meals, hygiene supplies, basic care, mental health support, housing navigation, and case management. And yet, many people remain outside. This is not because nobody is trying. It is because the need is enormous, and the permanent housing supply is not catching up fast enough. Temporary placements help, but temporary placements are not the final goal. If someone is moved from a sidewalk into interim housing, that can be life-saving. But if permanent housing is not available, the person can end up cycling again. That cycle is what exhausts everyone. It exhausts the person living it. It exhausts outreach workers trying to stabilize someone without enough options. It exhausts communities watching the crisis continue. And this is where Los Angeles faces its biggest test. Do we measure success by how quickly we move people out of sight, or by how consistently we move people into stability? Because it is possible to reduce visible encampments without reducing homelessness. When people are pushed from one area to another, the suffering does not vanish. It just becomes harder to track and easier to ignore. Real progress requires long-term capacity, more affordable housing, more supportive housing for people with complex needs, more prevention funding so fewer people fall into homelessness in the first place, more mental health and recovery options that are consistent and humane. Prevention is one of the most powerful tools, and it is often overlooked. When rental assistance, mediation, and emergency support reach someone early, homelessness can be prevented entirely. That is not just a statistic. That is a life that never has to enter the system. And now, we need to bring the viewer back into the story, because this is not only about government, it is also about the culture of a city. How we speak, how we vote, how we treat people on the street, how willing we are to support housing in our communities. Los Angeles cannot build its way out overnight, but it can choose to respond with dignity today. So here is the question. If meaningful change takes time, how do we stay committed when results are slow? And here is the answer many outreach workers live by. You show up again. You keep going. You refuse to treat people like they are invisible. Outro, a final message of hope, responsibility, and humanity. Los Angeles is a city of extremes. It can make a person feel like anything is possible, and it can also make a person feel like they have been erased. In 2025, the crisis is not hidden. It is happening near transit stations, near schools, near businesses, under overpasses, and along sidewalks people walk every day. For those living outside, the struggle is not only to survive, it is to remain human in a world that sometimes stops looking. But this story is not only about what is broken, it is also about what still exists. A volunteer who remembers a name, a street nurse who returns every week, an outreach worker who keeps following up, a person who says, "I want to get off the streets," and still believes it might be possible. Those are sparks, and sparks can become something bigger when a community stops turning away. So I want to leave you with 3 questions. What do you think Los Angeles must do first to reduce homelessness in a real way? Should the priority be affordable housing, prevention, treatment access, or all of the above? And what small act of compassion can you take this week that would help someone feel seen? If these stories matter to you, support the mission. Like this video so it reaches more people. Comment your thoughts, because conversation shapes culture. And subscribe to Homeless US News so we can keep telling these stories with empathy, clarity, and respect. Because the American dream is not only measured by what a city builds, it is measured by who the city protects. And no one should be left to disappear in the shadows. This is Homeless US News. Thank you for listening. And wherever you are, choose humanity.